Welcome, wrestling friends. It is the Gentleman Villain Podcast with William Regal. I'm Matt Kuhn. And of course, joining us is a star of the show, the head of the Blackpool Combat Club himself, Jumpin' Jim and Sparkles
Oh,
himself,
yes.
Mr. Regal. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm good.
Let's leave this star thing alone. It's one of those things that once you start buying into your own nonsense, it's like a slow downfall from there. That's what I've always found with people. They start buying into their own nonsense and listening to people, oh, no, I'm just me.
Well,
just an old journeyman wrestler. That's what I am.
Well, I think that's what people like about this podcast, and that's what people like about you. And also what people like about several parts of your career, including what you're going through now.
Yes.
And with the Blackpool Combat Club. Let me ask you something, question. A lot of people have talking about adding members and if there's going to be new members and who would it be? And I guess, that's a lot for you to say on this podcast, but if you had to pick someone through history to be a member of the Blackpool Combat Club, who would fit in of anybody that you can think of?
Well, there's the original members, which was myself, Robbie Brookside, and then Frankie Sloan. This is in my mind anyway, because we were the three that came from Blackpool, from the Horseshoe Show Bar, which was how we got into the wrestling. And then if I was looking at it from the actual thought process of what we do and what we're trying to do, and this is I've said this before, this is a real thing for us. We sit and discuss different ideas about how we can better everything that we're doing and everybody around us as far as the talent. So this is because some things are just about the people involved. This is to make sure that any wrestlers who wrestle anybody in the BCC get the best wrestlers to wrestle and have to and get learn a lot of things that they're going to have to learn, that they're going to have to rise to the occasion. It's probably worth several hundred matches with somebody who doesn't really know what they're doing, just to have one match with one of the people that is in. If you're smart enough to go back at the end of that match, if you're a young talent and you go back and then you watch it and you study it and you study the talent that you're in the ring with, which is one of the BCC, or you listen to the comments, or you come up and ask us afterwards, it's unfortunate byproduct of what's happened in the last 30 years. I'm here because I started with all really good wrestlers that had wrestled for years or were exceptionally good, and I slowly got better. Well, now you're expected to go to wrestling school and have a few matches and then be good. And yes, there are people that are going to do that. But if you look at even the more modern generation of wrestlers, they've had to hustle. They've had to work as many shows as they could. That they've all had to put a lot of time in and make the most of it. And that's why they're all in the positions they're in today. And that's including everybody, every single person in the BCC. So one of the problems now, okay, you turn up and you're either thrown straight on TV or you don't get to wrestle anybody who's a lot more experienced than you. Again, I've only had that because I've wrestled loads of people. From 18, I was wrestling the best people in Europe, Britain, and then Europe and so forth. And even when I first began, the fellas I wrestled were all far better than me and knew what they were doing. And it had been passed down and passed down. Well, as a young talent now, what a lot of the older talent in the last 30 years that have got experience, they end up wanting to wrestle each other. So it's very hard for young talent to get experience. Or you have a bunch of old wrestlers who some are and are like me and are quite willing to help, and then others do a lot of moaning and whining and back in my day kind of nonsense.
Sure.
So this is a real thing, and we just trying to build on what we've got at the moment and put a lot of time into Wheeler, but also everybody that wrestles us. That's the key goal is to make the people who wrestle us better because they've got to hang
Absolutely.
in there.
It's
If you're
interesting.
asking me about one person who I would have from any
Sure.
time, because I know he's the best that could help, would be Fit Finley.
Ah, well, it's interesting